This is the Transforming Anxiety podcast with Kelly Hanlon McCormick, and today is episode number 242, Expectations. Welcome to Transforming Anxiety. I'm your host, Kelly McCormick. I'm a mom to 2 boys, a wife, friend, daughter, and sister, and I'm a certified life coach, yoga teacher, and soon-to-be mindfulness meditation teacher. I'm no stranger to anxiety, and I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you too can transform anxiety into calm, peace, and whatever you want for your life. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there. Welcome in today. So today we're talking about expectations. My hope, my intention for our conversation is that we can cut ourselves some slack, that we can breathe, that as we gear up for the holidays, for the end of the year, for maybe family get-togethers, maybe friend get-togethers, parties, traveling, decorating, shopping, all the stuff, that we can breathe, that we can be. So today we're going to come at expectations from a few different angles. This is more of a conversation and one we could have many conversations about. This isn't really like a how-to step-by-step kind of episode, but I want you to specifically consider your relationships, your emotions, and your personal inner sense of worth and identity as we talk about this today. Breathe and bring those things with you into this conversation. Sound good? All right, we're going to start with one of my favorite quotes about expectations. This is something that I think just really level sets things. This is from Stephen Hawking, and he said this: "My expectations were reduced to 0 when I was 21. Everything since then has been a bonus." So Hawking, of course, had ALS, which gradually paralyzed him. He was originally given a life expectancy of 2 years when he was diagnosed at age 21, although he ultimately lived to be 76 years old. But this idea that his expectations were reduced to 0 and that everything since that diagnosis, so a full 55 years of his life, was a bonus. I want to just start there because I think that gives us some perspective. Yeah? So we talk a lot about expectations, don't we? We kind of talk about it in a flippant way. Should we have higher expectations? Should we lower our expectations? Like, where the heck do our expectations even come from? What if we drop our expectations altogether? Is that even possible? So I'm coming at today's conversation with a whole mashup of ideas and quotes and thoughts around expectations. So to start, I just want to say, yeah, to all of it. Higher expectations, lower expectations, letting go altogether, and wondering where they even come from. I think we need all of that because, like pretty much all things, there is no one way. There is no, this is how you handle expectations. No one shot where our hopes and our preferences and our desires are concerned. I think we have to be willing instead to take it case by case. We need to look at a situation and see, how are my expectations playing into this? And then we can operate from that sense of curiosity, of friendliness, and an utter lack of judgment. Just inquire, just notice, and go from there. Now, if you're here, if you're listening to this, my guess, right out of the gate, is that you have high expectations down pat. That you're pretty solid there. High expectations of yourself, high expectations of those around you, that you generally, honestly have some high expectations of life. Because if you didn't, like, I don't think you'd be here, right? What would be the point of transforming anxiety? Why show up? Why do this work? So my hunch is you have some hope, some expectation that things could feel different, that things could maybe feel better, that you could maybe feel more, or that you could simply be. And this is my work more and more, that you could simply be more you. And my other guess is that your high expectations have served you in some way. Expecting a lot has worked for you in certain areas of your life, yeah? You've expected yourself to do well in school and at work. You've expected yourself to be a good friend, a good partner, a good parent, a good child, neighbor, community member. You've expected yourself to show up, to participate, to do the thing. And that has probably worked for you in a whole variety of ways. It has for me. And also, maybe you're tired, frustrated, burned out. Maybe it's all starting to feel like too much. Or maybe you're scratching your head about something at work or with your kids or you're with your partner and you're wondering, did I expect too much? Did I not expect enough? What happened here? Like things don't feel quite right or quite like you thought they would. And you're wondering, did my expectations have something to do with this? So I'm thinking we need to get aware of our relationship with our expectations in all different situations. How we're relating to our own hopes, our own preferences, what we think is going to happen. Like we're all kind of playing Nostradamus with our lives, right? We're setting ourselves up for sometimes great things, but also pressure, stress, anxiety. Yeah? So maybe let's just start here. Consider where you have high expectations or have had and where it totally works for you. Where that keeps you accountable, where that keeps you honest, where that makes you reach for things. Maybe it challenges you, where it supports you in going after what you want, living your life big. Right? That's one way. That's one path. And it's important in some places and sometimes in some situations in life. Now, I want you to consider where your high expectations are just totally screwing you over, where it constantly leads to disappointment or frustration, where you're consistently bummed out, let down, or worse, where you're completely maxed out and anxious because things don't seem to be connecting or flowing or working. So I feel like all of this begs the question, where do our expectations come from? So there's that idea from Krishnamurti. I've shared this with you here before. This is the one that was popularized by Jane Fonda. And shoot, what's the word? This is not a direct quote. This is my quote, my take on the quote. You think you're thinking your thoughts, but you're not. You're thinking the culture's thoughts, right? I think this is the same with our expectations, right? You think you have expectations of yourself, like that's something that you've come up with and have just kind of thought up in your own head and your own heart. But really, how many of those expectations do we pick up from simply living in the world we live in? Like ideas of what we should do, images of how things are supposed to look, stories about how things should go. And we build expectations around that, right? If that's what I need to do, then I start expecting this out of myself, right? Out of my kids, my work, my home, you name it. And this happens so subconsciously. And we wind up holding on to expectations that we didn't choose, things we did not vet for ourselves, and expectations that wind up ruling our lives so that we feel a little discombobulated about the whole thing because what? right? How did these expectations get in there in the first place? We just picked them up osmosis style from the world around us. Then I want you to think about this. There are more specific expectations. So I was just talking about those kind of large scale global expectations. This is what a good parent looks like. This is what success looks like. This is what adulting looks like, right? But then there are expectations that are closer to home, that are more specific to you, that are probably based on your family of origin, your relationship, maybe your workplace. These are things that feel a bit more unique to your specific spot in the world. So here I'm talking about things like maybe you're always expected to host or to be on time or to be funny. Maybe you're expected to have your act together or to be overly dramatic. Maybe people expect you to work 70 hours a week or to always carpool the kids or just generally be available. So these are things that are individual based on the unique situations of your life, right? That's not necessarily the bigger roles that you're playing in the system of the world. You see what I mean? There's both. All right, here's an idea from Bruce Lee. I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine. All right, repeat after me, right? I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine. Yes. I think we could do to remember and repeat this often. The expectations that we're steeped in because we simply live in the world and culture and society that we're in, that's not what we're put here to live according to. No, that's not how it's supposed to go. That's what can happen. Yeah, that's what likely does happen if we stop paying attention to where the heck we got the ideas that we're supposed to be doing something, or we're not supposed to be doing this other something that we kind of think we want to be doing, right? All right, Lauren Groff wrote this in her book. This is in Arcadia. How disappointing when people succumb to what is expected of them. Do you guys know about Lauren Groff? This is how she writes. This is how she talks, actually, in interviews, too. She's amazing. Just like, yes. How disappointing when people succumb to what's expected of them. Do we raise our expectations? Do we lower our expectations? Drop them altogether? I don't know. But I do know this. When we live out our days and our lives according to preordained expectations, it is a massive disappointment. All right, here's something from Mark Manson, who is just fantastic, if you ask me. He wrote this. Our culture today is obsessively focused on unrealistically positive expectations. Be happier, be healthier, be the best, better than the rest. Be smarter, faster, richer, sexier, more popular, more productive, more envied, and more admired. Be perfect and amazing and crap out 12-karat gold nuggets before breakfast each morning while kissing your selfie-ready spouse and 2.5 kids goodbye. Then fly your helicopter to your wonderfully fulfilling job where you spend your days doing incredibly meaningful work that's likely to save the planet one day. Right? Nothing much to say there other than yes. This is what our cultural expectations and societal norms and conditioning all does to us. We have to check those expectations. The smarter, faster, richer, sexier, more popular, more productive expectations and see, is this me? So I want you to think for a second about the greats, people who are at the top of their game. Taylor Swift, Steve Jobs, Michael Phelps, right? People who have just done extraordinary things. I always think it's fascinating to consider their mindsets and just their approaches to life. Here's what I know. At one point, sometime long before we heard their names, they were doing the unexpected. They were writing songs, creating visions, practicing, pushing, losing track of time in their zone. They were doing things that honestly probably were counter to what was expected of them. Because they should have been just, going to school, hanging out with friends, hosting dinner parties, whatever, playing by the rules, staying in the known and the familiar and the expected lanes of life. Now, honestly, my hunch is that the greats then eventually fall prey to things the rest of us are prone to. They have a whole life of expectations ahead of them, right? Now they have to make more great albums, more innovative products, and earn more gold medals, right? So I think eventually they'll come all the way around the horn and their life becomes same, is my guess. But there's a sweet spot in there where, again, I'm guessing they just went wildly off course and did something totally unexpected. And I bet it was kind of fun, like rebellious, breaking some rules, busting out of those preordained expectations. And here's the perk of being a mere mortal. I think we have the freedom to live there in that sweet spot longer than they do. I think it's one of the gifts of not being super famous, that we are free to keep on doing the unexpected. Or at least looking at the expectations and seeing what fits and what doesn't, and keeping what we want and chucking the rest. All right, so lastly, I want to consider another approach. I promised you this would be an all both and that we would just throw the kitchen sink at this one. I think this approach is super useful sometimes. So Richard Carlson, he wrote this in his book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. You remember that one? Subtitle, It's All Small Stuff. He said, when you let go of your expectations, when you accept life as it is, you're free. To hold on is to be serious and uptight. To let go is to lighten up. So let's admit, we are mostly caught up in the very small minutia of daily life, right? What's for dinner? Did I send that email? What are we doing this weekend? How am I going to get all this stuff done? For the most part, this is how we're doing it. We're getting through the days. We're trying to keep our heads above water. Yep. Which means, by default, we also get caught up in the expectations. We hold on and grip so tightly to what we think it should look like, how we think we should be doing things, how we think it all should go. And although I think it's important to raise and lower our expectations on a daily basis, to challenge where our expectations are coming from on the regular, although I think we need to do that in order to keep our heads above water, get the kids taken care of, do the work project, clean the house, yep. This, though, may be the bigger, more zoomed out eagle view mindset that we need to touch in on and absolutely not lose track of, which is, it is all small stuff. And when you let go of expectations, when you accept life as it is, you're free. It's like we practice mindfulness and meditation and we clean up our minds and we get self-aware and we try to be kind so that we can transcend the everyday. And we still need to remember how to change light bulbs and pay bills and make omelets, right? This is an all both endeavor, this work, this life. Let go of your expectations and accept life as it is so that you're free, and take out the trash, help your freshman with geometry, feed the dog. Yeah? All right, similarly, Sharon Salzberg wrote this in her book, Return to Love. She said, the key in letting go is practice. Each time we let go, we disentangle ourselves from our expectations and begin to experience things as they are. So, yeah, same. And I wanted to include this one here because it ropes in the importance of practice. How we think about and relate to our expectations won't change on accident. We won't wake up with an easier go of it someday totally out of the blue. This stuff takes intention and attention and practice. We practice, we show up, we get mindful, we meditate, we listen, we get curious about how we're thinking and feeling. We challenge ourselves when we find reactionary or impulsive behaviors showing up. We observe, we get aware, we slow things down and tune in. We practice. It matters. And as we do this, as Sharon says, we experience things as they are. So, my friend, as we enter deeper into the holiday season, as we close out 2023 and welcome the new year, as we keep showing up in our lives, I invite you to consider your expectations, what they are, whether they're working for you, where they came from, but also what are the consequences of them in your life? Do you need to raise them, lower them? What if you let go? Would you see things differently? Meaning, would you see things as they are instead of through that filter of preference and bias of your own eyes? Maybe. Not fully. I don't think we ever fully get there, but we get closer. We practice. Yeah? All right, my friend, that's it for today. Please remember to rate and review the show. Be sure you're on the email list at kellyhanlonmccormick.com. And I will see you next week at the same time, same place for more transforming anxiety. And until then, please take care. Do you have someone to help you with your stress, anxiety, worry, and overwhelm? If not, I would love to be your coach. The Fierce Calm Project is my virtual coaching program where we get to go in on topics like this one, and I can help you apply these lessons to your life so that you're creating your own transformation. We do live coaching calls, guided meditations, on-demand yoga classes. We hold book club where we read books your neighborhood book club won't, and there's lots of bonus content that I've created just for you. When you're ready to take what you're learning on the podcast to a whole other level, then come on over and check out the Fierce Calm Project at kellyhanlonmccormick.com/Fierce Calm Project.